Hello everyone, tonight we are descending. You are here at the top of a staircase that doesn't belong to this hill. There are no ruins, no house, no door, only the stone slope that spirals downward into packed earth, like a spine folding into sleep. It's dusk, or maybe it's been dusk for longer than it should have. The grass bends away from the wind, but the wind never reaches your face. The stairs are shallow, irregular but smoothed over centuries, not by tools, not by time, but by countless bare feet walking in silence. Always down, never up. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. I'd love to imagine your room's in the dark. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. There is something wrong with these stairs. You can feel it under your soles, even through your shoes. Each step is just slightly misaligned, not enough to trip you. Only enough to draw your body out of rhythm to make your bones question themselves. Archaeologists once debated whether these stairs were natural formations carved by rain and retreating glaciers or something else, something softer and infinitely more repetitive. The stones don't show tool marks, they show toe marks. It's funny in a way. We mark the Neolithic by the rise of agriculture, burial, and tools. But in some places like here, there are no tools, no bones, no pottery, just paths. Paths pressed deep into stone, as if a people lived here who forgot how to bury and only remembered how to walk. Some say it was a ritual, that children were carried down and left until they found their way back up, that the feet carved the memory, not the minds. Others claim the stairs weren't stairs at all, but a song, each uneven step representing a different tone. The theory fell out of favor when it was realized no one could hum it without forgetting what breath was for. Some researchers still argue whether these are even stairs. One insisted it was the collapsed spiral of an extinct nautilus, fossilized and weather-worn. He vanished on a return trip, though, and his field notes later turned up in a second-hand bookstore in a city he'd never visited, tucked inside a cookbook titled Meals for One. That was somehow the most believable part of the whole ordeal. You descend. Slowly, the dirt thickens with each turn crowding out the sun. You notice faintly that the walls of the spiral aren't made of ordinary soil. They are compacted with thin layers of ash bark pollen and hair. Human hair. Ancient, carbon dated to over 9,000 years old. You wonder briefly who brushed their hair before walking down here barefoot, and then you see it. A small hollow no wider than a bowl in one of the steps. Inside it rests a fossilized object clearly placed, not buried. You lean in. It's a child's tooth too large for a modern jaw. Smooth and oddly polished, as if used as a worry stone for generations. Around the hollow are scratches not from tools but from nails, or claws, or someone who tried to hold on and didn't. And, of course, the official records don't mention that. They say the tooth was a wolf's, that no DNA could be extracted, that it was likely moved by erosion. They don't mention that the museum case displaying it cracked exactly 13 days after it opened, or that the night guard reported hearing soft footsteps coming from inside the glass. He quit the next day. Opened a bakery. All of his bread loaves are slightly spiraled, even the baguettes. You hear it now. Footsteps behind you. Bare, slow, and precise. You stop, but they don't. They never do. That's the thing about echoes. You assume they're following you, but really you're just catching up. At this depth, the light shouldn't exist. And yet the spiral walls begin to glow with a faint bioluminescence. Not mold, not fungus. A thin crust of crushed shells. Foraminifera, the oldest single-celled storytellers in Earth's oceans. They cling to ancient sediment like memory to stone. The glow pulses, not like a heartbeat, more like breath. And here's the part. The guidebooks never explain there's no bottom. No flat floor, no shrine or grave, Only spiral. The further you go, the more it curves. You should have emerged in China by now or fallen through magma. But here you are still descending. Still barefoot, though you don't remember removing your shoes. A final detail. Every 7 turns you pass a small alcove in the wall. Inside is a figure carved from compacted ash and pitch with no face. Only feet. Dozens of feet. Carved where the face should be overlapping, curled, pressed into each other. Some point down. A few point up. One points inward. Toward nothing. You pause there. You don't breathe. You think of children carried into silence. Of spiral bread. Of bones turned to stairs. You wonder what kind of ghost leaves no sound, only smooth stone. You wonder if they ever walked back up. And then because you are not brave, not wise, not even awake, you take another step. You wake up with your hand pressed to stone. Not lying down, just paused. Still mid-step, as if nothing had interrupted your descent but a blink that took too long. The stairs curve out ahead, smooth and expectant, still lit by the whisper glow of crushed plankton and ancestral shells. You've never been this deep before. Not in a staircase, not in yourself. Behind you, the upper spiral has vanished. Not closed, just forgotten. Like breath between dreams. You try not to notice how the walls are tighter now, how the glow pulses slightly faster like anticipation or digestion. You keep walking. Your hand trails along the wall to stay balanced, and after a few steps you notice something strange. Not all of the textures are mineral. Some are cloth, fibrous. You stop and turn your hand palm up. A single strand of twisted reed rests on your skin. Woven. Faintly knotted, a fragment of something. A net. A sling. A message. In 1964, archaeologists uncovered a spiral pit in Slovenia lined with ancient woven fibers long thought to be ritual bindings or slings for cradling bones. But a new theory emerged in the 1990s that they were looms, spinning the story of descent into something tactile. A scholar once said, perhaps they didn't record the past. They tried to soften it. Of course, the funding was cut the following year and the fibers were reclassified as ambiguous. That's the technical term for we're afraid of what it might mean. You move on. The next hollow you pass holds something different. Not a tooth, a thumbprint, not pressed into clay or carved into stone, just present. In the glow crust itself. Still warm. Still slightly damp, as if someone was here just before you. Not long before, just one breath ahead. You hesitate. Not out of fear, out of etiquette. The walls murmur when you're not touching them. Not in language. Just faint rhythms, thumping irregular, like heartbeats in things that shouldn't have hearts. It could be water, it could be memory, it could be you. You try humming to yourself softly, something familiar. But the sound doesn't echo. It falls flat, absorbed by the air like a lullaby sung to a sleeping sea. Whatever lives here doesn't return what it hears. And then, out of the corner of your eye, you see movement. Up ahead on the stairs. A small figure, perhaps a child barefoot, head down, slowly walking. They don't make a sound. You freeze. They do not. Eventually, they step out of view. You wait. Surely they'll reappear on the next curve. They don't. When you finally gather yourself to reach that point, there's nothing. No one. But the step where they stood is subtly different. Slick. Softened. As if feet have pressed there more often than anywhere else. A bottleneck of repetition. The ghosts are consistent, if nothing else. They honor their favorite stairs. You try not to ask yourself how long this spiral has been walked. Or why. A soft breeze brushes your ear, cool like lake water. Impossible, this deep. You pause. There's a new sound now, faint and rhythmic. It almost sounds like breath, but artificial. Like someone imitating it slightly too evenly. Like wind trying to convince you it's human. It's coming from the alcoves now. The carvings are changing. You pass another same faceless figure, but now in place of overlapping feet, there's a spiral carved into the chest. Delicate, shallow, but precise. A labyrinth within a body. You half laugh quietly. How original, you whisper. The staircase chuckles back. Not aloud, just in how the stone shifts slightly beneath you. Just enough to trip you if you weren't careful. Just enough to remind you you're not very funny. It's fine. Nobody laughs at archaeologists either. Some researchers still argue whether spiral pits like these were meant to be traversed at all. That they were symbolic structures. Ritual diagrams, not roads. One anthropologist once suggested they were meant for sky burials, that the dead were placed at the top, and time itself wore them into memory. The anthropologist recanted after spending a night in one. He claimed the dead weren't buried at the top. They walked down, on their own. You blink again. You're holding something, a small stone token. Circular, flat, like a coin. It has no markings, just a slight warmth as if touched recently. There's no memory of picking it up. It sits in your palm as if it's always been there. You consider dropping it, but the staircase tilts slightly when you try. Just a little. As if suggesting that would be so rude. So you keep it. The warmth seeps through your skin, like it recognizes you, or pretends to. And now the scent. Faint but familiar. Wet stone. Hollow bone. Smoke, not fire smoke, something older. The scent of rituals no longer understood but still obeyed. You've smelled it in museums and bone cellars and caves that were once cathedrals. You descend again. You do not remember if you are still breathing. The wind makes that decision for you now. You round the curve and stop. There's a candle ahead. Lit. Small, tapered, fresh. Next to it, another fossil. Not a tooth, not a print, a heel. A full, fossilized human heel with skin folds, pressure lines, and faintly stitch marks where it had once been sewn back together. Who sews a foot back on? You lean close. The candle doesn't flicker. It watches you. And you politely do not ask any more questions. The heel is gone when you glance back. You didn't hear it move. You didn't look away. But it's gone all the same. Just a patch of dust remains where it had pressed its silent authority. The candle is still there, though, still lit. The flame leans slightly inward as if listening. You don't touch it. No one who comes this far has ever touched the flame. One man reportedly tried. His lighter wouldn't work again. Not broken, just sulking. You step around it, carefully, as if it's a small elderly guest at a dinner you weren't supposed to attend. And the staircase thanks you. Not aloud, of course, not. It thanks you in how the step beneath your foot settles just right. The curve relaxes for a beat. The air loses its chill. You've been here before. You don't remember it, but your bones do. You start to count your steps, but every number tastes like the one before. Even your thoughts spiral now. Eventually, you reach a section where the wall has partially collapsed, revealing a thin layer of fossils pressed like flowers between book pages. Not bones impressions, mostly feet. Some bird, some human. One so large you have to blink to take it in. Toes splayed, heel arched, clearly not meant for anything that walks now. The stone around it has been cut away decades ago. There's a rusted wire where a label used to hang. According to a half-published thesis from the 1970s, the fossil here was removed for study and misplaced during transfer. It turned up 5 years later on the roof of a barn in coastal Wales, wrapped in moss and hair. It now resides in a museum basement mislabeled as possibly amphibian. Some researchers still argue it was part of a larger ritual map and anatomical diagram of memory. That each foot pressed here wasn't just marking the way, but carving a nervous system into the stone. The spiral wasn't architecture. It was a body remembering how to feel. You keep walking. The air changes again. A scent you can't place, spiced earthy, faintly metallic. Not unpleasant, just unfamiliar. Like the breath of a place that only exhales when watched. And then music. Low, gentle. A thrum, like someone plucking a string made of moss and old regrets. The sound moves in loops, as if wrapping around your skull without entering your ears. There's no source, only a sense of invitation, and maybe one of warning. The stairs are closer, now tighter. The spiral narrows. You have to turn your shoulders slightly to stay aligned. Your hands brush both walls at once. The song continues. It's not melody, it's memory tuned to vibration. Each note steps lightly on your ribs. You try humming alongs again just to break the tension. You match the pitch for a moment. The walls respond. The air becomes thicker, heavy, wet. You taste salt. Suddenly, you're in a new layer strata shifted by time or ritual. The steps here are made of something different. Not stone, not quite clay. You kneel, press 2 fingers against it. Bone ash mixed with powdered shell and something sticky. Resin. In ancient Malta, burial chambers were often sealed with a compound made of crushed bone and tree sap. Scholars believed it to be both preservative and symbolic, a mixture of grief and growth. One theory, rarely cited, suggests it was more than symbolic. That memory itself could fossilize if sealed just right. You step again, and then you see it. A mirror, small, hanging from a thin reed cord tied to a peg in the wall. The glass is warped, cracked in 3 places, and the reflection is inaccurate. It shows the stairs behind you, but the figure in the mirror isn't moving, just standing still, watching you descend. You smile nervously. The figure in the mirror does not. You try waving. The mirror flickers, just a shimmer like heat over stone. Your third joke. Well, at least it's not one of those mirrors that shows your true self. I'm not emotionally prepared for that. Neither, it seems, is the mirror. You pass it without touching the cord. The sound changes again, dripping. Not fast, not rhythmic, just slow, intermittent, like a memory bleeding through. You round a bend and find the source. A trickle of black water leaks from a crack in the wall, pooling in a carved depression shaped like a human mouth. No tongue, no teeth, just lips parted slightly, the water falling into them as if into a patient throat. You kneel beside it. The pool is dark, but not opaque. You see yourself. Then the figure behind you. You turn. Nothing. You look back. The pool now shows a stone staircase spiraling upward, full of light, covered in moss and warm dust and sunlit steps. The sound of birdsong, distant but real, reaches your ears. You feel the warmth on your face. You don't blink. You don't move. The illusion lasts precisely 1 heartbeat. Then the pool dries. You're alone again. Or not quite. Because someone behind you exhales, softly, close enough to fog glass, and you remember suddenly that there are no doors down here. No exits, no entrances. No. So, where did the breath come from? You begin walking faster. The spiral resists slightly. The steps protest with minor shifts, like a cat not wanting to be picked up, but you insist. A new alcove appears, carved deep. Unlike the others, this one has no figure. Just a niche, and in it an old sandal. Woven, frayed, still stained with dark patches that might once have been blood or wine or mud. Its left foot only. Child-sized, facing downward. Beneath it, the inscription. Not carved, just pressed into the clay before it hardened. It reads, "I am going to see where she went." You pause longer than you mean to. Your fingers hover near the sandal's edge, but you don't touch it. Not because you're afraid, because it looks like it's still warm, like the child might come back for it. You step away. The spiral resumes. The rhythm is different now. Tighter, more vertical, as if the stairs no longer descend but coil. The air becomes laced with iron, and sound behaves differently here. Your footfalls arrive a second late. Echoes lag behind, uncertain, like memories that need permission. You notice a smear on the wall. It's not paint, it's rust. But not from metal, there's none of that here. This rust comes from within the rock itself, like blood, learning to mimic art. It forms a spiral again. Of course. But this one is wider, more angular, with breaks that suggest movement. Some researchers still argue whether early humans had a sense of abstract pattern recognition. The oldest known spiral carving in Ireland's Newgrange tomb dates back over 5,000 years and was cut by hand using nothing but stone tools and infinite patience. Some say it represents the sun, or the seasons, or life after death. A minority view. It was a map of something older, something underneath. You try not to think about that. You try not to think about how this staircase hasn't widened or narrowed for the last 100 steps. You pass a rock that hums when you touch it. A gentle vibration like a purr buried deep in a glacier. The hum matches your heartbeat, then accelerates. You let go. Your fourth joke. That's the closest I've ever come to being in a relationship. The stone hums louder, as if amused. You walk on. The walls shift subtly now, showing signs of layering. Thin impressions too precise to be natural, too vague to classify. Spirals, hands, but not five-fingered. Some have 4, some 6. One has a webbed pattern like fingers remembered through water. Your hands begin to sweat. You wonder if the staircase remembers every touch it's received. If it has your print already. If it knows your weight. You stop. Ahead a shape moves. Not a figure. A shadow, flat against the curve. Moving opposite you but with no source. No body to cast it. It flickers across an alcove and vanishes. You blink, but it doesn't return. Instead, you hear something brushing the walls below. A dragging sound. Like a palm smeared slowly across bark, or someone pulling a net full of stones. Then a voice, not words, just a sigh shaped like one, a murmur that wants to be language but forgot the vowels. It moves through the walls like water through reeds. You remember something, a detail from a book no one admits writing. In ancient Anatolia, shallow spiral pits were carved beside burial chambers, but not for the bodies, for the voices. They believed the soul, once detached, needed a spiral to unwind its final thought, to prevent it from returning. Scholars doubt this, of course, no written proof, only rumors, and a mistranslated prayer that ends with "Do not answer the stairs." You descend. Another hollow appears. This one holds feathers, gray iridescent. From no bird you know, too long, too narrow, and stiff. You lift one gently. It's sharp enough to cut. The base is fossilized, but the tip is warm. You drop it. It lands point first, does not fall over. You walk faster. The spiral begins to tremble. Not the stairs, your memory of them. You can't tell how many you've taken. Your legs feel uneven. You try to count, but every step whispers the wrong number. 17, 4, 17, 4. Over and over, until the math becomes ritual. You think of stories you heard as a child, of staircases carved by barefoot ghosts who forgot how to die, who walked in spirals to remember their names, who left sandals and teeth in songs instead of graves. Your fifth joke to yourself. Well, at least it's not a haunted elevator. Those never have working emergency buttons. You don't laugh, neither does the staircase. You round a bend. Ahead, the walls widen slightly, forming a chamber round, hollowed by centuries of passage. This is not an end. It's a hesitation. A breath the staircase takes before it speaks. In the center is a figure, not a statue, a person, standing still, facing away. Their feet are bare. Their skin is dusted with crushed shell, and small glowing creatures crawl slowly across their back, each tracing spirals with their tiny bodies. You do not speak, you listen. They say nothing. You step forward. The floor changes, softer now. A layer of moss, no fur. Long, ancient shed in tufts preserved by humidity and silence. Mammoth cave lion. Something older. You inhale. Your lungs protest. Not with fear, with familiarity. This is the scent of something that remembers your ancestors. Something that once watched them walk past in silence, barefoot and reverent. The figure moves, just slightly. They tilt their head as if listening for your footstep. They whisper. You don't hear the words, but your name is part of them. You don't know how you know that, but you do. They begin to walk, downward, spiraling. You follow. Of course you do. Because the staircase isn't just beneath you now. It's in you. You've been walking it since before your birth. You've just finally remembered which direction. You don't know how long you've been following the barefoot figure. There are no clocks here, no angles, no sun. Just the slow bend of the spiral, the shallow hush of footfalls ahead of you, and that strange sensation in your spine like the stairs are gently rewriting you from the hips down. The figure never speaks again, never looks back, but they know you're behind them. You think they were waiting for you. Or perhaps they're only a little ahead of your own shadow. The walls begin to breathe. No, really. The glow dims and swells and gentle waves synchronize now, not to your breath, but to theirs. A deep rhythm, not human. Something older, slower, like the way lungs might sound if they belonged to a mountain. Or a sleeping god. The very earth seems to inhale. The steps grow stranger. No longer stone, now smoothed wood. Fossilized, petrified, but unmistakably timber. Birch, maybe. Or a tree that no longer exists. The grain runs in spiral patterns as if each step was cut from a single coiled root system. In Japan, ancient temples were built without nails, each wooden joint carved to fit the next precisely like bones in a story. One temple, it's said, was built in a spiral. Descending underground, its chambers devoted to silence. It was lost in an earthquake in 684 CE. Some say the stairs were not destroyed, they were borrowed. You reach the next alcove. It has no carving, only a single reed flute cracked tied with a strip of animal hide. There's no dust on it. A tiny inscription is burned into the wall behind it. You lean close. It's hard to read. The language is ancient or invented, but you make out 5 words. Play only if she calls. You do not touch the flute. You move on. The barefoot figure is further now. Their glow is fainter. The spiral curves sharper. The air grows denser, not in pressure, but in presence. It feels like walking into the pause at the end of a lullaby. That moment when the child doesn't know if they should sleep or listen harder. Your 6th joke, so quiet it isn't even funny, is simply, I hope she has snacks. You smile to yourself. The spiral does not. It tightens. The walls now display no carvings, just skin. Pale, papery layers of bark or something bark-like, peeling gently at the corners. Occasionally you see prints in it, palm-sized, child-sized, some too large, too narrow. As if something once pressed its face there to listen. You come to a stop. There is no more staircase, just a platform. Flat, circular, smooth. The barefoot figure has vanished. At the center is a hollow in the shape of a curled-up child. No bones, no statue, just the shape of waiting. And surrounding it, footprints. Dozens, hundreds. Bare, pressed deep. But, and this is the part that prickles your skin, every set of footprints is pointed up the stairs, facing away, as if everyone who ever stood here turned around and left, except the one figure who lies curled in the hollow. You kneel at the edge of it. You don't cry. Not yet. But the emotion is waiting just below the tongue like something you swallowed as a child and forgot until now. The hollow is warm. You speak, not with words, with silence, with weight. The air accepts your voice. A slow wind passes through, not horizontal but vertical. As if something above you just breathed out. Or laughed, or sighed. And now you hear it. From below. Steps. But no staircase. Just sound. Coming closer. You lean forward. Nothing. Only the hollow. And then, from somewhere beyond your understanding, she calls. Not aloud, not with sound, but with a gravity that bends your breath toward her. Your body leans in before you decide. Your hands reach down. You don't feel yourself lie in the hollow, but you are already there. You hear no voice, but she is already telling you something. It sounds like goodbye. It sounds like again. The staircase waits. No one else is coming. Not yet. But eventually, they all do. Somewhere far above where the grass folds without breeze and the moon forgets to rise, the staircase still rests, its mouth sealed with silence, its spiral hidden beneath centuries of soft forgetting. No one remembers building it. No one remembers walking it. And yet, it remembers you. You who followed the barefoot figure. You who did not touch the flute. You who asked no questions and left no prints. A child finds the first step one morning while chasing a moth. A scholar dreams of spirals and wakes with sea salt in her sheets. A song is hummed in a sleepwalker's mouth shaped like a staircase turning inward. And somewhere below the hollow remains, waiting. Warm, each echo not lost, only resting curled into itself, like a child asleep in the belly of stone. You are here again, not buried, not alone, only listening, only remembered, only still.